Thank you and welcome. We have put together a set of panelists here that I think are going to keep you quite fascinated for the next hour or so. I'm very pleased to introduce, you have incidentally complete bios for these folks in your packet, so I'm going to keep my introduction short and just let you know that to my left here is President Kirk Schultz from K-State, who we're very pleased to welcome to the area. He's been here just a month shorter, we were saying, than your new president of the chamber. Danny O'Neill, the bean baron, who needs, I think, no introduction in this community. Michael Droege, interim president for Park College, is next to him. And Chris Gutierrez, president of Smartport, is also with us today. So we have an interesting mixture here of people from business and higher education. And so the first question that I think I'd like to put this to Chris to start off with, putting the ball in the court of industry here. You know, as business today seeks to recruit, manage, and retain skilled workers and talented managers, what role does international experience or international background play in how you hire today, and I might ask you also how you think that will play out in the future?
Sure. Is this mic working from here? Can everybody hear me? Usually I don't need a mic, but maybe it's this room. But thank you, Melissa. It's a great opportunity to be here. And my field is transportation, logistics, and supply chain, and in its nature is global. Everything we use or the services we take advantage of in today's environment are global. I was at a conference once that talked about the many things someone touches in the 30 minutes they take to get ready in the morning, and maybe it's an hour to get ready depending on who's timing. But you look at a majority of the things you touch, use in that morning are international in nature. So I think everything we're involved with is international. And if you think specifically about products and services, it's about manufacturing, it's about raw materials, it's about the components, finished products, and making sure they get from a global setting to another global setting, anywhere to anywhere in the world. So international and the nature of global business is very much a part of my industry. Growing up, my dad used to have a saying that only dogs speak one language. And he didn't mean literally speak Spanish or French or German, but experience cultures and education and food and coffee, we'll hear in a little bit. It was making sure that your life, whether it was personal, education, or business, was well-rounded culturally. So I think to answer the question today, it's critical. I think there's a basic level of international understanding that every candidate in the workforce has to have. And then I think that is getting stronger and stronger as you move forward. And I think a look to the future is it has to come with an international experience, whether that's an exchange, whether that's an international student living with you as they exchange coming here, or an international entrepreneurship or opportunity to work abroad. I think in the future it's almost a must that has to be there, because you're going to touch something, no matter what your job is, that's international.
I ask you then, what's the role of higher education then in preparing people for these kinds of international careers where every career is international? Or
well, I'd like to thank NAFSA and the Kaufman Foundation, first of all, for having the Roundtable here and inviting us. Higher education and businesses do need to come together first, I think, to make sure we all understand what it is exactly that the students and the workers need to be learning to navigate the global business. And then we need to collaborate in providing those experiences that they need. And at the same time, we need to remember who the students are and who the workers are and who they will be. We know that from the global demographics and the emerging economies that the game's changing. And so we have really all businesses in all countries in a global race for talent. On the higher education front, colleges and universities must make the global learning a top priority. And most are doing that. That message needs to be expressed in vision and mission statements, and it really needs to be articulated at all levels of the organization, starting from the president. Of course, the higher ed institutions need to partner together. We were talking about that just a minute ago. And we need to join forces to support organizations like NAFSA and ACE, American Council on Education, and others. It might surprise you a bit to hear me say that the education of the global workforce is too big for higher education alone. It's also too big for any corporation or foundation, although the Gates Foundation is making a good go at it. So in my view, higher education really needs to partner more extensively with businesses, and that collaboration needs to be absolutely comprehensive. And by that I mean business leaders need to be in on the strategic planning for global education at the outset. Business leaders need to be in the informing the program mix and developing the curriculum so we have all the skills and the cultural understandings there. Then businesses need to be, I think higher ed should reach out more to businesses for the delivery of their programs. When Park was looking for some assistance to deliver teacher education programs in remote Pacific Islands, we went to Dell Computers and they helped us with some equipment. And businesses can also help higher education in documenting the performance of interns and alumni who become employees in businesses about how well they do, so we can use that assessment to go back and really improve the learning. Business leaders are already participating in institutional governing boards, and they need to be very actively engaged in the life of the institutions.
Yeah, I think there's several critical challenges that are out there in regard to international education, particularly at large public universities. Funding is going to continue to be a strong issue for us, and I'm not talking about higher ed in general, but particularly international experiences. My younger son is a high school student, and he's going to Spain this summer as part of his Spanish class for 10 days or something, and it'll be about $3,500. So to put that in perspective, our tuition and room and board for a semester at a lot of public universities, say it's $8,000, just as a good round number. The problem we have is, I think generally people can agree that we need these experiences, but they can be expensive. And if we're worried about accessibility and people are just trying to figure out how to make ends meet to send their son or daughter to a university, and their son or daughter comes home and says, I got a great opportunity to go abroad and I need $3,500, there's a whole lot of people say, we just don't have it. So figuring out ways to creatively develop partnerships between academia, the business community, foundations, and so on to create as many experiences as possible, I think is a real critical issue for really making this an important integral part of our educational process. So I actually believe the motivation's there. I think generally higher ed has gotten the message, and our faculty and folks realize that almost everywhere, public and private, that this is an important thing for us to have. But right now we're being hit with globalization. We've got people worried about diversity, just generally diversity, not including outside the United States, internally. Sustainability is a big issue on a lot of college campuses. So we have to learn to pick and choose somewhat what things are we going to emphasize to make those cross-cutting initiatives. So it's important, it's critical to do it, we've got to figure out ways to do it, but I think it's also an expense issue that's going to require some real challenge to figure out how to get the most exposure to our students.
Michael, you want to?
Well, I would say in addition to that cost factor, increasingly the classrooms are being filled with working adults who have jobs and families, and they're less able to uproot for a semester and go somewhere. We've been able to do quite a number of things with shorter term study abroad. The other thing to remember is that in addition to international travel, students should be expanding their global perspectives while they're on their home campus and in their own communities. And that can happen in many, many ways. We're fortunate at Park University, we have over 650 international students with citizens from 120 countries. So in our Parkville campus, for example, 21% of the students are international. What that means is that really every class, every day is an international experience for all of those students. And they talk about that. So we have those international students engaged in campus, in discussions about their experiences in their home countries, and it brings it all home.